on the Radio Wammo Breakfast.
Basically, this generation is more liberal, more tolerant, more Democrat-leaning than the one before. It's not just because they're young.
For another point of view, it's Hard News with Russell Brown and Wammo on Kiwi.
It's Russell Brown from the Hard News blog at publicaddress.net, the Media 7 show on TVNZ 7. Good morning, Russell.
Good morning.
Who's been involved in a blogosphere spat yesterday on Public Address, and Cactus Kate, I noticed.
Yes. Kathy Hodges, who is a tax lawyer but has also been a Fairfax columnist. I'm really at pains not to try and enter into a blog war, but she did make some fairly strong claims about APN, who own the Herald and the Women's Weekly and the Listener and various other publications, that their head office in Sydney was slashing legal budgets and basically telling all the journalists to be careful in case they got sued, and touted this document that had supposedly come from, had been supplied to her by people who said this is what it is, had come from head office. I really got my doubts because the text, I am absolutely certain, comes from a information booklet for a media law training course that a whole bunch of journalists took earlier in the year. So I'm not quite sure whether it's the evil plot that she perceived, and she didn't take that very well.
Yeah, so she's rather convinced that there's some kind of conspiracy from APN to cut costs and dumb down the news. By not reporting dodgy goings-ons.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Yes, and I just can't see it, frankly.
No. Okay, so it's not a go.
And it's not exactly like I've always been on the side of the Herald, but I think Tim Murphy, the editor, might be right here.
Interesting. Okay. Right.
Although it was interesting, because we can never get Tim Murphy to comment on anything. We've tried to get him on Media 7, basically since we started the bloody show, and we never get anything. And then Cactus Kate, by making some fairly strong allegations, actually gets a direct response from him. So maybe that's it. Maybe that's the key for us now.
Yeah, say some quite outrageous statements.
Yep.
And see what happens.
Yeah.
Talking about the Herald, they are there's an all-out attack on Witi Meyer this morning.
Yeah.
Over the plagiarism claims. Well, more than claims now, I suppose. And he received the laureate last night. It was one of the recipients of the $50,000 prize.
Yeah.
And that's why he's now under attack.
Yeah, which is, I actually am at the point of feeling sorry for him. I mean, this is the kind of thing that you would normally want to celebrate, and he just doesn't seem to be in any position to celebrate at all now. I mean, which is not to excuse what he did. I think Auckland University have been pretty weak on this. They basically were, they were approached and said, no, we think that's all of it. There is no more plagiarism in the book. And according to Jaleesa Gracewood, the Public Address blogger who broke the story for the Listener, there is. And she has found some more. So I suspect there may even be some more of that.
The news feed coming from Radio Live this morning was calling him a plagiarist.
Yeah.
Is that too harsh?
No, I think it is plagiarism when you look at the way he used those unattributed passages.
But then once you've been given the label plagiarist, I mean, that stuff sticks.
Yeah, it does. And calling him that, I hope people don't just call him that for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
That would be unfair, because that is to ignore all the other good stuff he's done. This is the guy that wrote Whale Rider and The Matriarch, both of which are great.
I mean, in New Zealand, are you only ever as good as your last work?
Yeah. Oh, I think that this is a really unusual situation, and had it not been for Jaleesa, probably no one would have noticed, and this would all have gone through, and we'd be celebrating it. But, of course, the other person to get the Arts Foundation laureate is Chris Knox.
Which was extremely positive, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was amazing. And, man, did Barbara keep that secret well.
Yeah.
Because it came through only days after he had his stroke in June.
Yeah.
And they've just quietly kept that for quite some time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's great, and it's nice that it wasn't a sympathy thing. That the decision was made way back in March.
Yeah.
So Yeah.
Did you see the interview last night?
I did. It was fantastic. Well done, John Campbell. I knew he would be the guy to do it.
Yeah.
And it was actually, I mean, I've seen Chris the odd time. He on that thing last night, he looked the best I've seen him. It was great, actually. But you can, that kind of impishness that you saw last night on Campbell Live is there in the 2 bonus tracks he's done for Stroke, the tribute CD. And, of course, the extraordinary thing about that is that he can't speak, but he can sing. So he has no words, but he can still sing.
Amazing that, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Well, it's a really interesting lesson in how the brain works, basically. Because very early on, he the part of his brain that governs speech was badly damaged. I don't think anyone's quite sure how much is going to come back of that. He can say yeah and no, but he always had the music right from the beginning. He was humming a tune as they wheeled him into hospital after his stroke. And now Roy Martin and him have planning future recordings. So there'll be recordings from Chris Knox before he can speak.
Still to come. There'll be still some Chris Knox in the nothing.
Indeed, yes.
And what do you think of the Stroke CD?
I really like it. I mean, I would be telling people to buy it anyway because it benefits Chris and the family. But I'm really impressed by it. There's some stuff on it that just surprises me, put it that way. Particularly the Jordan Luck track. I would actually like to hear Jordan do more of this kind of work. He's always been so great at pleasing the punters and being an entertainer. But when you listen to the song he's done on Stroke, Becoming Something Other, it's a really bleak song. It's a song about going to visit your father on his deathbed.
Yeah.
And he really pulls it off. I mean, all credit to Brian Bell as well, who did the arrangement. But there's lots of stuff there, actually.
And maybe because whenever I see Jordan these days, he's the happiest man I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
He's really seems to be in a good place in life, and maybe that's helped.
Yeah, maybe. I know that he's really proud of that track, so I hope that does lead him on to do to do more stuff like that.
Yeah.
But with Brian as well, I thought the two of them working together on something a bit different was incredibly effective.
Yeah. Hey, finally, let's quickly go overseas. The Sarah Palin book is out, and I know that you've been a commentator on Sarah Palin ever since she emerged onto the world stage. What do you make of the going on?
Oh, God. I mean, I might even see if I can find a copy on the internet, but her autobiography, Going Rogue, is full of lies. It's astonishing. She's not a nice person. She's a dreadful personality. I've got one review in front of me that says, Going Rogue is an irritatingly vernacular, fantastical and cloying autobiography of a malignant narcissist, every bit as thunderingly stupid throughout as the person behind it.
Amazing.
And, of course, she was on, I don't know whether you saw or heard any of her appearance on Oprah.
I saw a brief snippet on the news.
She did not make a lot of sense.
Well, she never has.
No, and she still isn't. And Oprah asked her the question that she couldn't answer from Katie Couric, what do you read?
She's still unprepared
she still didn't really get there.
She could have said, I read my own book, and that would have worked.
But, it's heading towards an interesting situation for the Republican Party, because there's a new CBS poll out overnight saying fewer than 25% of Americans have a favourable view of Sarah Palin. So she's unelectable. But the Republican base, who seem to be driving that party at the moment, think she's fantastic. And it's still not out of the question that either she will get the nomination or that her bid for the Republican nomination in 2012 will be so hideously damaging to that party that it may not recover. Because we've already seen that in New York District 23, where there was a congressional special election. And she was one of the people who basically took out Didi Scozafaza, who was the establishment Republican candidate, in favor of a guy who missed out on the nomination and ran for the Conservative Party and lost a seat that the Republicans have held for decades.
Yeah. And
they can't quite get their heads around the idea that she lost it.
Yeah. Well, it's going to make a great Daily Show fodder.
Oh, yeah, the Daily Show's lapping it up.
Yeah. Russell Brown, thanks for another episode. Cheers.
Okay.
Russell Brown at publicaddress.net, Media 7 show.